Okay, so let's talk about a name you definitely know. Geoffrey Chaucer, right? But I'm willing to bet the Chaucer you remember from high school, well, that's not the whole story. Not even close. We're about to meet the real Chaucer.
Yeah, when someone says Chaucer, what pops into your head? It's probably a bunch of pilgrims, right? All on the road to Canterbury, telling stories to kill time. And look, you're not wrong. The Canterbury Tales is, without a doubt, his masterpiece.
But what if I told you that the guy who wrote about those pilgrims was also like a serious psychologist? Someone who could really dig into the nitty-gritty of love and loss. And a total visionary who was thinking about dreams and fame, and even a wicked satirist who used talking birds to poke fun at the whole dating game. It's true.
So today, we're going to go beyond that famous pilgrimage. We're going to dive into the full, absolutely versatile genius behind Chaucer's other, just incredible works.
Okay, A Portrait of a World. The Canterbury Tales. I know. I just said we're going beyond the tales, but we got to start here for just a second. It's the perfect frame for literally everything else he wrote. You have to think of it as more than just a bunch of stories. It's a living, breathing portrait of his entire world.
The real genius of this book is the cast of characters. I mean, Chaucer gives us a perfect cross-section of his world. You've got the super noble knight, right at the top of the social food chain. And then you've got the rowdy body miller. We meet the worldly wife of Bath, the genuinely good parson, and oh yeah, the totally corrupt pardoner who's out there selling fake relics. This was way more than a story. It was a snapshot of medieval society, warts and all.
But here's where it gets really clever. The teller shapes the tale. See, each story is basically a mirror reflecting its narrator. The noble knight, of course he tells a grand romance all about honor and chivalry. That's who he is. But then, the drunken miller just grabs the mic, so to speak, and launches into this crude, absolutely hilarious comedy. The tale is a perfect reflection of the teller. It's brilliant.
And that focus on character, it's absolutely key. So let's explore what happens when Chaucer zooms in, when he goes from this huge ensemble cast to a really deep psychological dive on just a handful of people, exploring love, loss, and betrayal as a psychologist.
And that brings us to Troilus and Cresside. So forget the big group of pilgrims for a minute. This is an intimate, super introspective look at a single love affair during the Trojan War. And man, is it a tragic one. It digs so deep into the emotions of love and betrayal. I mean, it's so psychologically complex that it ended up being a huge influence on later writers. You might have heard of one of them, a guy named Shakespeare. And it's not just that he told a great story. He did it with unbelievable poetic craftsmanship. For this poem, he actually invented the 7-line stanza form called rhyme royal. It has this A-B-A-B-C-C rhyme scheme. This structure was the perfect vehicle for him to carefully build the emotional world of his characters, line by painstaking line. So he wasn't just a storyteller, he was a master craftsman, a real architect of verse. And this focus on deep, powerful feeling, it was definitely not a one-off. These are poems of deep feeling. His first major work, The Book of the Duchess, is just this incredibly moving elegy about grief, written for his patron whose wife had passed away. Then later you have The Legend of Good Women, which is a collection of tragic stories, all about famous women like Cleopatra and Dido, who were betrayed by men. Okay, but Chaucer wasn't all doom and gloom, tragedy and heartbreak. He had this other side to him, experimental, philosophical, and often really, really funny. He was a visionary. And to explore that side, he took a popular format from his day and just completely flipped it on its head. So, to really get what he was doing, you gotta know about something called the dream vision genre. It was a super common setup in medieval literature. The narrator falls asleep, has some kind of crazy symbolic dream, and that dream becomes the story. It was basically a license for poets like Chaucer to explore these huge abstract ideas in a really creative way. And boy, did Chaucer run with it. Take The House of Fame. In this poem, he basically wrote a medieval take on how information goes viral. Seriously, the narrator gets whisked away by a giant eagle to this place called the House of Fame, and there he sees how reputations are made, how rumors get twisted and spread. It's this wild, unfinished poem, but it's a fascinating look at the flimsy nature of truth and communication. And then you've got one of my personal favorites, The Parliament of Fowls. It's this witty, hilarious satire. The whole setup is a huge flock of birds getting together on St. Valentine's Day to argue about who they should mate with. It's a brilliant commentary on courtly love, and get this, it's one of the first pieces of writing
ever to connect St. Valentine's Day with romance. How cool is that?
So, just look at the range here with Chaucer's other visions. Using these really inventive, dreamlike structures, Chaucer could tackle pretty much anything. The shaky nature of fame in the House of Fame, the crazy complexities of courtly love in the Parliament of Fowls, the tragic betrayal of women in the Legend of Good Women. Each one is a completely different world.
So, whether he was writing deep tragedy, sharp satire, or these wacky dream visions, one thing was always there. Chaucer's unique and enduring voice, that witty, insightful, and just deeply human perspective, it shines through in everything he wrote, right up to the very, very end of his life.
And you gotta love this. One of his last known works is a short poem called The Complaint of Chaucer to His Purse, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It's a short, clever, and kind of self-deprecating plea from Chaucer to his empty wallet, basically begging the new king for his pension. Even when he's broke, the guy's still witty.
And really, that's the big takeaway. From the huge social satire of the tales to the intimate psychological tragedy of Troilus and Cressade, it's Chaucer's incredible versatility and his profound insight into human nature that make his work completely and utterly timeless.
His work didn't just survive. It has actively shaped and influenced English literature for over 600 years. 600 years. Just let that sink in for a second. That is a staggering legacy.
Which kind of leaves us with one final question to chew on, right? What makes a story powerful enough to last for centuries? Any story. What's that secret sauce that lets it connect with people across hundreds and hundreds of years? Whatever that